So our quiz tomorrow is on 4.2 through 4.4. We're going to start with the 4.2 stuff. So that's just adding, subtracting, and multiplying our polynomials. So looking at number 1, how would I add these together? Combine like terms. So I start with the x squareds. What's negative 6x squared plus 10x squared? 4x squared. Next, I move on to the x's. 3x plus 4x, 7x. And then negative 7 minus 2, negative 9. So this would be my answer. All we're doing are adding our like terms, and that's it. We're done. So combine like terms, the variable part stays the same. For number 4, so moving on to subtracting. What do I have to do different when subtracting? Distribute the negatives. We distribute that to everything behind it. So it'll be minus 8x cubed minus 2x squared plus 5x and plus 1. So now we just combine our like terms again. So start with the cubes. What's 4x cubed minus 8x cubed? Negative 4x cubed. What's 6x squared minus 2x squared? 4x squared. Negative 9x plus 5x. Negative 4x. And 1 plus 1? 2. Awesome. All right, let's move on to multiplying. What would I have to do for number 8? Distribute. So what's 5x squared times 3x squared? 15x to the 4th power. Awesome. When multiplying, we add the exponents together. What's 5x squared times 7x? 35x cubed. What's 5x squared times 6? 30x squared. So that would be our answer. Good with this one? All right, 11. How do I multiply 11? FOIL. We just have to make sure both terms in the first parentheses get multiplied to everything in the second. So starting with negative x. What's negative x times 3x squared? Negative 3x cubed. What's negative x times 2x? Negative 2x squared. Negative x times 9? Minus 9x. Now we move on to the negative 6. Negative 6 times 3x squared? Negative 18x squared. Negative 6 times 2x? Negative 12x. And negative 6 times 9? Negative 54. What do I have to do next? Combine like terms. So I start with my highest degree, have negative 3x cubed. Move on to the x squared. So it's negative 2x squared minus 18x squared. Negative 20x squared. Negative 9x minus 12x. Negative 21x, and then minus 54. All right, for 13. Define the products. So how would I multiply these 3? So we want to FOIL out the first 2, and then I'm going to multiply the third one to it. So I get x squared plus 4x minus x minus 4. What would I have to do next? Combine like terms. I want to combine my like terms before I multiply the next one to make it easier for us. So x squared plus 3x minus 4. Once we combine our like terms, then we're going to multiply the third part. So here we just have to make sure everything in the first set gets multiplied to everything in the second. So starting with x squared, what's x squared times x? X cubed. X squared times negative 3? Negative 3x squared. Then move on to the 3x. 3x times x would be 3x squared, and 3x times negative 3? Negative 9x. And then negative 4 times x would be negative 4x, and negative 4 times negative 3 is positive 12. What do I have to do next? Combine like terms. Start with my x cubed. So x to the third power would come first. What's negative 3x squared plus 3x squared? 0. They cancel out. So we don't write the 0. We just get rid of them. They cancel out. Then with my x's, what's negative 9x minus 4x? Negative 13x, and then plus 12. So that would be our answer. For 17, how would I multiply these? FOIL. And for 19, what would I do here? Write it out twice and then FOIL. So it's 2p minus 3 times 2p minus 3, then we have to FOIL. You cannot distribute the squared. Got to write it twice and FOIL it out. Any questions from this page? Let's go to the next one. So here we are dividing using long division. So I'm going to start with number 1. I'm going to write it over here so we have more room. So we have x minus 5 on the outside. And that's dividing into x squared plus x plus 12. So when we are doing long division, we always follow the same steps. Divide, multiply, then change the signs and combine. So start with dividing. We always divide the first term by the first term. What's x squared divided by x? X. After I divide, I multiply. So I got to multiply that x times everything out front. So x times x squared, x times negative 5, negative 5x. What do I do next? Change the signs first and then combine them together. So the first terms will always cancel out. What's x plus 5x? 6x. What would I do next? I could bring down the 12. And what's next? 6x divided by x. What's 6x divided by x? 6. So I'd have 6 on top. What's next? 6 times x would be 6x, and 6 times negative 5? Negative 30. What do I have to do next? Change the signs and combine. So what happens to the 6x's? Cancel. What's 12 plus 30? 42. What do I do next? That's our remainder. So remainder, 42. So our answer is x plus 6, remainder 42. All right, we're going to do number 3 next. So I have x squared minus 9. Am I missing any terms here?
Yes.
Where?
In the middle of the 9.
So in what I'm dividing into it, I'm missing an x. So I'm going to put a 0x in that spot. We don't have to, but it'll help as a placeholder when we multiply it out. So it's really helpful to put that 0x there. Again, you don't have to, but if you don't include it, then just make sure you're skipping a space and keeping your like terms in line. So in the box, I have x cubed plus x squared minus 9x minus 6. All right, so what's the first step? Divide. What is x to the third power divided by x squared? X. So write that up top. What's next? Multiply it to everything out front. So what's x times x squared? X cubed. X times 0x is just 0. You could either just say 0 or 0x squared, whatever you want. And x times negative 9? Negative 9x. What do I do next? Change the signs and combine. What happens to the x cubes? Cancel. What's x squared plus 0x squared? Just x squared. And then what's negative 9x plus 9x? 0. What would I do next? I can drop down the 6, the negative 6. What else do I need to do? divide again. What is x squared divided by x squared? 1. Be super duper careful. X squared divided by x squared is 1. It doesn't just go away. It is 1. We need that 1 there. Now I take the 1, multiply it to everything outside. So 1 times x squared. X squared. 1 times 0x. 0x. And 1 times negative 9. Negative 9. What do I do next? Change the signs and combine. So the x squareds cancel. 0x is just 0. We don't need it. And negative 6 plus 9? Positive 3. What's next? That's the remainder. Perfect. X plus 1, remainder 3 is our answer. The last class asked, could it be possible to have an x in your remainder? Let's say this wasn't 0x and it was just x, and I had x plus 3 left. Can I divide x by x squared? No. So then it would be possible to have x plus 3 as your remainder. Yeah, it is possible. So once you can't divide anymore, I can't take away 2 x's from x plus 3, so I'd be done. That would be my remainder. So it is definitely possible to have x in your remainder. Any questions here? Good with this one? All right, let's take a look at 4. Am I missing any terms in 4? 0. I'm missing a 0 in the first one. Perfect, because I don't have a constant there. So I'm going to put the 0 in that spot. And then a 0x in what I'm dividing into it. So I have x squared plus 0x plus 2 on the outside. 6x cubed minus x squared plus 12x plus 0. Bless you. What would I do next? So we divide the first term by the first term. What's 6x cubed divided by x squared? 6x. Then what do? Multiply times everything outside. So we get 6x cubed. What's 6x times 0x? Just 0. Thank you. And then 6x times 2? 12x. What's next? Change the signs and combine. What happens to the 6x cubes? Cancel. What's negative x squared minus 0x squared? Negative x squared. And 12x minus 12x? 0. What do I do next? We can drop down the 0. And what else? So negative x squared divided by x squared would be what? Negative 1. Perfect. After I divide, multiply it to everything out front. So negative 1 times x squared. Negative x squared. Negative 1 times 0x would just be 0. And negative 1 times 2 would be negative 2. What's next? Change the signs and combine. So the x squareds cancel. I have 0x, so don't need anything there. And 0 plus 2, 2. What's next? Perfect. Our remainder is 2. So our answer is 6x minus 1, remainder 2. So if we start with x to the third power, I need x cubed, squared, x to the first power, and a constant. So that's why we put that 0 there. All right, for the next one, we're going to divide using synthetic division. So let's take a look at 9. Am I missing any terms in 9?
Yes.
What? A 0x. So what's going to go inside the box?
2, negative 1. Oh, sorry. 1, 0, 25.
1, 0, and 25. What goes outside the box? 5. Perfect, because we changed the sign. So positive 5 goes outside. What do I do first for synthetic division? Drop down the 1 and multiply. Then we add the inside multiply the outside, add the inside, we get 50. So now I need to write my answer. If I start with x squared,
It's gonna be X.
my answer is going to start with x. Perfect. It's always one less. So it'll be x plus 5, remainder 50. So that is my answer. All right, next. For 12 through 14, we're using synthetic division to evaluate. So when it says evaluate, just the remainder is your answer. So evaluate means that we're just going to have one number as our answer, and it's just the remainder. So let's look at 14. Am I missing any terms for 14? No. So what's going to go inside the box? 14.
1, 2, -3, +4.
Perfect. 1, 2, -3, and +4. So we take the coefficients and put them in the box. What goes outside the box? -1. When it says x is equal to, you don't change the sign. So don't change the sign when it's equal to. So -1 on the outside. So drop down the 1, multiply the outsides. What do we get? 1 times -1. -1. Add.
+1,
Multiply.
-1,
Add.
-4,
Multiply.
+4.
Add. 8.
8 is just the answer.
So what's our answer here? 8. So our answer is just 8. When it says evaluate, the remainder is your answer. 4.4, this is all of our factoring questions. So you have to factor the polynomial completely for the first ones. Bless you. How would I factor number 1? Take out the GCF first. So I'm going to divide them all by x. So take out an x. I am left with x squared minus x minus 12. Now Tomas, what are our two factors of -12 that add to -1? -4 and +3. So what goes into my parentheses? X minus 4 and x plus 3. And then I can't forget about the GCF that I took out in the beginning. So this would be my answer. All right, number 4. What should I do first? Take out the GCF, bless you. What's the GCF? 2k squared. So 2k squared comes to the outside. What am I left with? K squared minus 121. What's special about both k squared and 121? They're perfect squares. This is the difference of squares. So how does the difference of squares factor? A plus and a minus. So what would go into my parentheses? K minus 11 and K plus 11. Perfect. Because my two factors of 121 were 11 times 11. And then I can't forget about the 2k squared that I took out in the beginning. So this would be my answer. All right, so let's take a look at 5. How would I factor 5? Take out the GCF. What's the GCF? W squared. Can I take out a 2 also? No, because I can't divide 7 or 15 by 2. So my GCF is only W squared. And then I would be left with 2W squared minus 7W minus 15. How would I factor this now? Awesome. Since we start with the leading coefficient that's not 1, you have to multiply the first times the last. So what's 2 times negative 15? Negative 30. Now I need two factors of negative 30 that add to what? Negative 7. negative 10 and positive 3. So in my parentheses, I have w minus 10 and w plus 3. And then I can't forget about the GCF that I took out in the beginning. And what else do I need to do? Awesome. Since we started with multiplying, I have to make sure I go back in and divide. So Arden, what does our first parentheses turn into? And then what about the second one? Perfect. If it doesn't divide, we move that 2 in front of the w, so 2w plus 3. And we can't forget about the w squared. So this would be our answer. All right. Let's do 7 and 9. So 7 and 9 are the perfect cubes one. So we need to know the formula for perfect cubes. If I am adding, how does my formula go? A plus b times a squared minus ab plus b squared. So the signs go plus, minus, plus. Perfect. If I'm subtracting, how would my formula go? A minus b times a squared plus ab plus b squared. Minus, plus, plus. Awesome. So then we just need to figure out what our a and b are. So looking at number 7. If a cubed is x cubed, what is just a? X. And if b cubed is 27, what is just b? 3. So what's going to go into the parentheses? Perfect. Awesome. Make sure you are familiar with your common cubes. So numbers like 1, 8, 27, 64, 125. What about if I had 1,000? If a cubed was 1,000, what would just a be? 10, because this is 10 cubed. Perfect. Any questions here? Let's look at 10. How do I factor when I have 4 terms? Grouping. Group the first 2, group the second 2. What's the GCF in the first group? Y squared. So when I take out a y squared, what am I left with? Perfect. What's the GCF in the second group? 4. When I take out 4, what am I left with? Y minus 3. What would I do next? Awesome. The 2 outside parts go together, so y squared plus 4. And then the insides, since they are the same, they become 1. Y squared minus, or y minus 3. The order doesn't matter. You could say y minus 3 times y squared plus 4. Can I factor this anymore? Awesome, because it's not the difference of squares. We're adding, so I can't factor it. What if it said y squared minus 4? Could I factor this more? What would it factor into? Y plus 2 and y minus 2. But if it's y plus 4, can't factor it. So that's our final answer. All right, let's look at 14. So for 14, we are factoring. What's special about 36p to the 4th power and 25? Perfect squares. So this is the difference of squares. So what are my 2 factors of 36p to the 4th power?
6p squared.
6p squared and 6p squared. Awesome. What are my 2 factors of 25? 5 and 5. So what goes into the parentheses? 6p squared minus 5 and 6p squared plus 5. Does the order matter? No. Just as long as one of them is a plus and one's a minus. Can I factor this anymore? No. We're done here. We're good with this one. Let's look at 15. How would I factor 15? What are two factors of 28 that add to 11? 4 and 7. So what would go into my parentheses? N squared plus 4 and n squared plus 7. Awesome. Why n squared? Because it's n to the 4th power, so that would break down into n squared and n squared. It'll always be the same term as the middle one. You can always check your work by foiling it back out, and you will get the original answer, the original question. Any questions here? All right, we're going to do one more today. So determine whether the binomial is a factor of the polynomial. Let's do 19. So to determine if the binomial is a factor, we have to do synthetic division. What's going to go on the inside? 0 and 0. If we put the zeros there, we need 0, x, and our constant, which is 0. For this one, it won't really change the answer, but it may in some of them. What goes on the outside? 2. It belongs to us. They both do. Because we need the x to the first power and the constant. So drop down the 6, multiply, add, multiply, add, 0, 0, 0. So what's my remainder? 0, which means it is a factor. So we would say yes. So for these questions, if the remainder is 0, then that means it is a factor. If the remainder is not 0, it's not a factor. So if it says determine whether it's a factor, your answer is just yes or no. But I need to see the work, so don't just guess. Use synthetic division. Let me know.